Joe Kent.
Well, it was so nice to listen to. I was so curious about what everyone, who everyone here was. I was in DC, and we're looking at my little iPhone on YouTube because they had videotaped the last meeting here, and I was like, oh, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? And I was so curious about who the Big Island Libertarians were. So, my name is Joe Kent, and I was the chair of the Maui Libertarian Party for a couple of years, and now I moved to the Big Island, so I live here now. Grew up on the Big Island in the Hamakua Coast side. I lived in Akaka Falls when I was younger. Went to Hilo High, UH Hilo, and then I became a music teacher, and I taught in the public school system for 7 years. And so I know the public school system really well. I taught in Minnesota and in Hawaii, and I saw the government getting bigger and bigger in my classroom and causing all kinds of problems. And it was tying teachers' hands behind their backs and tying principals' hands behind their backs so we couldn't run the school anymore. And a lot of people were confused about, well, what is the problem? And I saw the problem as a lack of power by the individuals who ran the school. They had so many rules, and this year we have a new thing called the EES, which is a bunch of evaluation rules for teachers, which take forever. I mean, teachers just spend hours and hours and hours doing this, and if they're doing this, then what aren't they doing is teaching the kids. And so I think that all the teachers in my school became libertarians after this. I mean, they just saw big government causing all kinds of problems. And I talked to the principal and I said, have you ever fired a teacher before? And he said, no, he's never fired. I said, have you tried? He said, of course, he's tried. He's never fired a teacher before. And then I said, have you ever met anyone who has fired a teacher before? Another principal in the state. And he said he's never met anyone. He doesn't know a single principal in the state who has fired a teacher. And it was one of those things where it was kind of like, oh, long ago, once upon a time it happened. Remember that one time? And it was like an urban legend or something. So I said, this is a big problem. I got to do something about this. And so I quit my job. I quit everything. I said goodbye to all my friends. And I said, where can I move in the state that is more libertarian? And everyone pointed me to Hilo, to the Big Island. And in fact, I talked to a development director over in a land development director over there, and I asked him, why are prices so inexpensive in Hilo compared to the rest of the state? And he said, well, one is they've got more land over there, but two, they're more libertarian over there. This person wasn't libertarian, but he said that's why people could prosper over here so well, because they have it pretty good. And so I'm here to tell you, count your blessings. I mean, coming from Maui, yes, count your blessings. So, and I also said, I'll bet there's a potential for libertarianism to take hold on this island. And I want you to know that all the other islands are talking about this, that the Big Island does have the potential to have more libertarians involved. And so Gregory and I went to the market yesterday to see if this was true. So we did a scientific experiment, and we took the world's small. Now, has anyone not taken the? If you haven't taken it, you don't have to. I'm not going to make you do it, but if you'd like to, you're welcome to. And we set that up at the farmers market, and it's been reviewed by all kinds of magazines as being pretty accurate. And I'd ask people afterwards, did you think was it accurate, would you say? Every single person said, yes, that's exactly where I thought I would be anyways. So, but some people would come and take the test and put their sticker at the top where it says, in the area where it says libertarian, and then they look at the quiz and look at me and say, what's a libertarian? They never heard of that before. And so I said, it's libertarian is just somebody who values liberty. consistently. I mean, that's really it. And we were talking before about, I mean, we could almost rename the party just the Liberty Party, and then people wouldn't be so scared of it, right? I mean, libertarian, it's got the word Aryan in it. It just sounds so scary. So anyways, and if you look, a lot of people ended up liberal or centrist or on the line, but most people at Maku'u Market ended up as libertarians. Maybe on the edge, or maybe at the top, or at the bottom, but they're in there, and that means that there's a lot of people, I think, who are wondering about this, what is a libertarian thing, and I'll bet that most people on the Big Island probably lean libertarian in some way or another. It's interesting that we didn't find any conservatives there. No conservatives at all at Maku'u Market, so it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I guess that's good. Okay, so
no status either.
Yeah, no status or anything. Yeah, so. But anyway, so that tells me that we do have a lot of potential to do good things here. Now, I wanted to talk about. Cynthia was talking about. I went to D.C. a couple weeks ago, and it was for the Koch brothers summer fellowship scholarship, and I don't know if a lot of people here have heard of the evil Koch brothers before. They're kind of being dragged through the mud right now. Imagine if there was an organization or a couple people who donated to libertarians. What would the media do to them, right? It would. Do the Democrats want libertarians in the world? No.
No.
Do the Republicans want libertarians in the world? No.
They're getting
And so, what?
They're getting it.
They're getting them, and so the Koch brothers are libertarian. They're just libertarians, donating to other libertarian causes and to all kinds of libertarian charities. And this was a libertarian kind of. Young people who were very influential in the libertarian movement. And I consider it a great honor to be a part of this. 114 of the best and brightest young libertarians from across the nation, all talking about how can we make the world a better place. And it was just, it's a kind of like the Ivy League of libertarianism over in DC. I was there. But they talked about a lot of things. We had disagreements, things like should we get rid of the government completely, or should we have a minimal government? Should we go back to the Constitution? How do we change the world? Do we just ignore politics, or do we need to be a part of it? So we had all kinds of discussions there, and people had all kinds of different things to say. I was also the Ron Paul National Delegate 2 years ago. It's only 2 years ago that happened. Ron Paul ran and lost, and we tried to run a really big campaign on Maui, and we were all looking at the Big Island. The whole state was watching the Big Island. We were just so jealous of you guys because Ron Paul won here, for those that don't know.
You also won in Maui.
That's right.
No.
He did. So he won on the Big Island, and if you look at the Google Maps political map, Maui turned whatever color Ron Paul was, I think green. And then, the Big Island turned green. But Maui was turned whatever Romney's colors were. And there was, I could go on, but there was a lot of weird things that happened with the vote counting on Maui. And so we could never argue the point that Ron Paul won, although it was clear that he did win. But we could never argue that point successfully, so that we just said, we're wasting our time, so we gave it up. But anyways, so I went to Florida for Ron Paul, and here comes Ron Paul in the middle of the convention floor, and all the media went whoa, and I said, oh my goodness, there's no way I'm going to be able to talk to him or see him. But I just yelled, Ron Paul, could I give you a lei? Because I had a Hawaiian lei there. And so then he came to me, and so all the cameras and everything, and I was like one of the proudest moments of my life. I gave him a lei, and it was just so cool because we wanted to show him that Hawaii wants to give him aloha and so much respect. So So that picture flew all around the world and went everywhere, but at the end of the day, they kicked us out of the convention for being too libertarian. And for being too libertarian, yes, and or not Republican enough, maybe. And so that's when I said, well, maybe I should just be a libertarian. And so ever since then, I just joined the party. And I said, well, maybe I won't get anything done, or maybe I will, but that's all I can do. That's how I sleep at night, is I'm a libertarian, right? I don't want to pretend to be this or that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some ideas I had for advancing libertarianism on the island, and these are ideas that I've talked about with the rest of the state. So, but if you have any questions for me about anything else, about schools or DC or anything else, I'll be happy to answer. Okay, so these are some ideas that I had that we can do, and maybe you can help us with. Is that okay to go into this, or would you rather do something else, or move that later?
Well, I mean, just to give a little background,
Yeah.
well, I kind of touched on this, but we are looking at doing a Big Island libertarian campaign to educate people about what libertarianism is, so that they know what this L means on the ballot when they're going to be seeing, I think, 3 races where it's head-to-head L and Ds, and if they don't know what the L is, they're not going to want to vote. And so I think Joe's been thinking about what we can do.